Hey everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers Postgame presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for this tank. And joining me tonight, it is Mr. Fly Hyperbole himself, Steve Jakob. How about that one, Steve? Riveting.
Woo!
They scored. I mean,
Here's the thing.
They scored.
They scored. They lost in regulation. No points, no overtime. Good for us.
That's nice.
And we got to see Alex Ovechkin get a goal on his way to history. And I think that's pretty darn cool, Bill.
Number 888 for number 8. That is pretty sick. I didn't put shutout in the description of the show. I didn't write it until after the Flyers scored. But I did put in, like, Ovechkin gets number 888, and then the Flyers get another one, make it a game. I was like, oh, he's getting an empty netter, and I'm still going to have to change something. But no, it does not happen. The Flyers make it a game. We don't convert our -1.5.
John Tortorella was doing everything he could to spite you on that -1.5 because he reviewed that first goal what was it, the third? What would have been the third goal?
The fourth, right? It was, yeah. Number 4 came off the board.
Keep track.
And then he reviews the Couturier goal, and it counts. And there's a 2-goal swing. Like what we thought was going to be a 4-1 game ends 3-2, and so be it. But
the man don't tank.
Here's where I'm at with this team right now. It's bad, and we're going to go over some scoring numbers for the regulars. Obviously, we talk every night about the lineup, and it's like, well, what are they supposed to do? They got 5 fourth liners at best in the regular rotation. Half of their defense is still in the development process of their careers. Like it's only so much, but it's the regular guys who really aren't coming through for them in terms of scoring goals. That said, they clearly haven't quit, which is honestly shocking.
I can't believe it. I can't believe they haven't quit.
When you get shut out, I think it was for close to 10 periods before they scored a goal. They hadn't scored since Ryan Poehling in the final minute of the second period last Thursday. So, of course, it's Ryan Poehling, prolific scorer, who breaks the streak with his goal in the third tonight.
It's like they always say, Ryan Poehling's the backbone of the offense.
Oh, clearly, Ryan Poehling. So the Flyers scoreless streak was, he puts the Flyers up 3-2 against Tampa with 59 seconds left in the second last Thursday. Then they go the final 25 minutes of that game without a goal. They, of course, win in a shootout, but I'm not counting the goal you get because you win the coin flip, basically. Then they get shut out in 2 straight. And then they go 40 minutes tonight without a goal, and really longer because when did Poehling's comes at the 5:10 mark, so 45 minutes without a goal tonight. Unbelievable infutility on offense. They just are unable to score 3 goals in a game. Like, it just doesn't happen. It's a race to 3 every night. If the other team can get 3, they lose.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is. But it's been so freaking bad.
Well, I have a theory that I think Kelly Hinkle was the reason for this because the last time they scored was the last time I was on the show. What was it, 3 straight Kelly episodes and 3 straight
We had 2 Kellys and then the
Kelly. Many people are calling it the Kelly Hinkle shutout.
2 Kelly post games and then the St. Patty's with my buddies who I wanted to do car bombs with on Monday.
That's true. It did break out. Yeah.
So that's what it's been.
Kelly and a car bomb. There you go.
Yeah. And
that's actually the name of a new podcast with Dan Carcillo.
They just cannot score, and that's what brings us to tonight's Ace Hardware temperature check. Let's take a look at which Flyers heating up or cooling off with our Ace Hardware temp check. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project. It's TK, man.
Oh my God, it's so TK. So
the slump is one thing, and I think now he's got 2 goals in his last 29 games.
This is officially a curse. This is officially a curse.
None in his last 13, I think.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I've been consulting with my sources. I've been hitting the streets hard of South Philadelphia. My sources, those being random South Philly people and weirdos. And they all told me that he was cursed by a witch in the Italian market back in mid-January. He stole a piece of fruit or something, forgot to pay. It's terrible. He's got to go make amends currently because
Maybe he'll find a genie.
He must.
Maybe I feel like this is the plot to Aladdin.
Yes, I'm just ripping off Aladdin. But no, like there is something wrong with him, something horribly broken, because how many chances did he have tonight that earlier in the season he buries without question?
Tonight, and that's why I wanted to feature him in the Ace Hardware temp check, because this is no longer a slump. Like he's taken it to all new levels. Again, no goals, 4 assists in the last 13, 1 goal in his last 23, 2 in his last 29. One of those is an empty netter. Like he just cannot score tonight. Early in the game, he has the 2-on-1 passes. Rip it, man. Rip it. That's what he does. You score on the rush. That's your thing. In the third period, he gets back-to-back inside of like 90 seconds. He gets a 2-on-1. Lindgren makes a great save, robs him as he tries to cut back, go backhand 5-hole, and somehow
it was a nice attempt.
It was great. It was really you have to give the goalie his credit, but it's like, TK, man, you got to score eventually. And then the 2-on-0, we thought maybe it was an overpassing situation, but TK is a goal scorer. That is his job, and he needs to shelf that.
Matvei
Michkov gets it to him on that far post, and maybe it's not in the best spot, but it's in a great enough spot.
Pretty damn good pass.
Yeah, man. If Jakob Pelletier doesn't score from there, I'm like, all right, it's a little close. Like he could have had a little bit better of an angle, but Travis Konecny is the team's best player. He is still the leading scorer.
By far, the leading scorer.
I simply have no answers for it. We saw him in the first period just looking dejected. Like when he passed on that 2-on-1, he goes to the bench. He's not even like looking down, like bummed. He's just looking up like, I don't even know what to do. I pass when I should shoot. I shoot and I miss the net. He's lost, man. He's not cooling off. He is frozen solid. He is Encino Man before he gets thawed.
What's cooler than cool? Ice cold.
And that's really what he is. It's funny, though. His 20 points since January 9th, when the scoring slump started, it still leads the team, despite only scoring 2 goals in that time.
This season's like a sick joke.
20 points in the last 29 games. Like, that's not bad. But you look at, like, even, like, more recently, 4 assists in the last 13 games, no goals. Like, that's just horrendous.
Well, there's a clear correlation here with the offense struggling and him struggling. As the Flyers offense goes as Travis Konecny goes.
Absolutely.
And you could also say that with Matvei Michkov to a degree, but Konecny's still their leading scorer by a lot. And I mean, like, if he's not scoring, the rest of the team, because the rest of the team doesn't really have that much talent to score. They're not a very talented offensive team in their current form.
On January 7th, TK scored goals 19 and 20. That was game 41 of the season. Since then, January 9th, 2 goals. He has been outscored over the last 2+ months, 2.5 months, by Risto, Coots, Hathaway, Morgan Frost. I believe Kuzmenko has as many goals as, like, it is so bad for this team right now. If he can't score, they can't score. It's that simple. I will say, though, it's not just him. I put together a little list of droughts and slumps over the last 10, 11 games. Owen Tippett, 1 goal, 2 points in his last 10.
And this is a guy we thought had the potential to score 30 goals this year.
Tyson Forster, no goals, 2 assists, last 11.
And he's supposed to have a great shot.
Noah Cates, 1 goal, 1 assist, last 10 games, no points in 8 straight. Coots gets a goal tonight. 2 goals, 4 points in his last 11. Sanheim, no points in 13 straight, hasn't scored in 39 games, 8 assists in that time. 8 assists in the last 39 games, no goals for Sanheim.
Not even an apple for a guy playing as many minutes as he does
you'd
every
think
night.
You'd luck into them.
Yeah.
Cam York, no goals, 3 assists in his last 23 games. Michkov, can't leave out Mish. It's unfair because, we can only expect so much, but no points in 6 straight.
I mean, he's the second leading scorer on the team. And
yeah,
if you're looking at a scoring slump, I mean, you look at Konecny, then you look at Mish.
Bobby Brink, yes, he had the big 3-point night against Tampa last Thursday, but 4 points in his last 10, no goals, 1 assists in the other 8 games this month. Like, that's pretty rough. And Jamie Drysdale, that's 3 goals, no assists in his last 10.
That's
He
just a
has
pure
the
goal
goals.
scorer there.
And you take a look at the leading goal scorers for this month. Kuzmenko played 3 games in March. He's in the top 10. Ula Lixell looked okay for a couple games. There's one guy in the lineup with more points than him in March.
Oh, man, this is good.
Poehling has 3 points on the last 3 Flyers goals.
Ryan Poehling.
That's where this team is. They just, you remember the Tampa game. And we came in and we were like, you know what? We are going to enjoy games. And that's the last time they won. And I think they only have 2 wins this month. We said, you know what? It's a game where like Bobby Brink is really good. And, if the young guys are going to play well, we have to celebrate it. And if it's the guys who are going to be here, the core pieces, or at least guys who have a chance to be a part of the core going forward, dudes we think who have a pretty decent chance to be here over the next few years. If they're going to be good, it's hard, even though we're, hoping for the tank and everything, to get mad. These guys who are supposed to be part of it are the reason they can't score. These are the teams. These are the NHL regulars. These are all top 9, supposedly top 4 defenders. Like, they have no offense right now. No. They are fighting. They are blocking shots. Like, look at the shot total tonight. What did they hold them to? 16 shots on net. They outshoot the Caps, the highest scoring team in the league, second best goals against team in the league. They hold them to 16 shots on goal. They're fighting. They're working hard, but the offense it's horrendous.
It's all, part of it's snake bitten. Like Travis Konecny, I think Travis Konecny should have had 2 goals tonight.
Easily.
And they are getting some chances. Tonight was actually one of the best games they played in a couple weeks. I mean,
they were good.
Game,
they played well.
They played well against a really good team. I mean, the Capitals are they're one of the top 2 teams in the league. Are they currently number 1, I believe?
I believe after tonight, I don't even know if Winnipeg plays today, but I assume, they pick up 2 more points, another regulation win for them. So they are the top team in the NHL.
They played pretty well against the top team in the league, and they just couldn't get any points again. Here's the thing. There was also the backup goaltender. Lindgren might have their number, but he's still their backup, and he's still like having a very average to bad season compared to
$8.99 coming in. He is exactly average, which is, hey, the Flyers would kill for exactly average. If they had a goalie with $8.99, they'd have like 10 more freaking points this season at least. But it's a guy who is average. If they get shut out because Andrei Vasilevsky just goes off, like, what can you do? Dude's going to the Hall of Fame, has over 300 wins. He's nowhere near done. But Charlie Lindgren, and like you said, you pointed it out in pregame, his career numbers against the Flyers, stupendous. They actually beat what he normally does. I think he said he has like a 1.81 goals against them. They get 2 tonight, beat what they normally get on him. But it's
But if you look at the time on ice, and you look at the time on ice, right? Couturier has 22-24. Konechny's got 22-18. Michkov has 20-01. And, Couturier is the only guy with points out of the 3 of them, right?
Yeah.
So it's the tail of the tape right there.
All right. Before we go any further, I got to tell you about a couple of our sponsors. Gotta lead it off with Game Time, baby. That's right. Summer is here, and maybe sports are winding down, especially here in Philly. But doesn't mean you can't go check out an awesome baseball game. And summer means concerts. I've already picked up a few tickets to some concerts I want to, and I always go with Game Time. I love all the features in Game Time, starting with the Game Time Picks feature, man. The curation makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, all the events you want to go to. You don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. The Game Time Picks feature shows you the best deals on the best seats. I use it for all my events. I am a big fan of Game Time's Game Time Picks features, but all the other ones that made Game Time the best secondary ticket marketplace are still in play. That all-in pricing, you never get to the end, and oh man, my ticket price just doubled because they didn't show me any of the fees or any of the service charges until the very end. I already had my mind made up, and now a $100 ticket now costs $185, like at the very least. I just bought tickets somewhere else, and that happened to me. My ticket price literally doubled as I got to checkout. I was like, what am I doing? This is why I got to go with Game Time. They have the low price guarantee. They have the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So you got to download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Well, what time is it? Game time. And while we are here, I got to tell you about Rothman Orthopedics, baby. That's right, because if you have aching joints or cramping hands, your back's out of whack, you got to go to Rothman. At Rothman Orthopedics, they've been practicing specialized care, and it's been their passion for over 50 years. Their mission is high-quality, compassionate, and affordable care rooted in research leading to new treatments and better outcomes, because each Rothman doc is laser-focused on their specialty. Hip, knee, spine, you name it. They have a team for each body part right in your backyard so you can get back to your specialty because they're Rothman Orthopedics and they're specializing in orthopedics and you. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY to learn more and make an appointment today. Yeah, this like extensive list of players in droughts and slumps that we just went through is borderline insane that it's this crazy. Many guys, and like, listen, yeah, they got shut out in 2 straight. They haven't scored in like a week, so it makes sense. But we're talking about like 2, 3, 4 game span. These are all 10, 11 games. And then some of these guys like York and Sanheim, like producing no offense for half the freaking season, basically. They get nothing from the back end, which I think is, like Jamie Drysdale, 3 points. He's leading the defenseman by a ton in this month. Like, there's no one else even close. Like, yeah, I would love to see more out of Andre, but like, again, developing guy who's been up and down this season. What can I expect out of him? It's Yegor Zamula. Am I expecting more than a 12-point season out of him?
Well, like, missing Risto.
They really seem
Bill's
to be
the point producer.
He was.
Risto's the point producer.
He was.
I mean, you're scoring as many points right now as half the team. So I guess I could say Bill's point producer.
It's freaking unbelievable. Like, Risto has 19 points on the season. He's one of their better point producing defensemen, especially lately.
Power play specialist.
Oh, the power play. I don't even want to get into the power play.
No, we don't ever want to talk about the power play.
I do want to because it's hilarious. It's 0 for 25 this month, but like,
you can't tell me that
they
Scott Lawton was the guy driving all the offense on this team. There's just no chance in hell that was what was happening. But I'll tell you what, since Scott Lawton, they've been gutted since Scott Lawton. And they're playing better right now. Like, they are playing a little bit better, but they still stink and they can't put the puck in the back of the net.
They can just not find the back of the net. And it's concerning because, again, I'm talking about Tippett, Forster, Cates, Sanheim, York, Couturier, Michkov, Brink, Drysdale.
It's the whole team.
These are the guys that they need to, like, if they're losing 4-3, 5-4, and it's like, yeah, man, like at the end of games, we get run over because we only have 2 NHL lines and our goaltending hasn't been good this year. Understandable. Those things are totally understandable. But that's not what is happening. In the first half of games, they need these dudes to score, and they just can't. Honestly, it's a little concerning. The losing is good. Losing is good. We're Team Tank over here. I forgot to take the Sixers little army helmets that they're wearing as Tank Commander. But like, I still need some of these dudes to look like they're taking a step.
Well, and this is a really bad look for John Tortorella and the coaching staff right now, because is what's left of the locker room tuning them out at this point? This is a real problem if Torts is going to continue being the coach moving forward, because is his message sticking with the team? Is his training, is his system really sticking with the team? Because right now, it looks like it ain't working very well.
I think, like, just based on what we saw tonight and what we've seen recently, there have been some clunkers in this. Again, they've only won 2 games this month. You can't say they played well in all of them when they've pretty much lost every game.
Sure haven't, Bill.
But they're playing hard. They're doing a lot of things right. I honestly think this lack of offense is more just all these guys slumping. Like, these are the guys who've been depended on for the big minutes all year. I think it's less about the message losing its steam from the coach and more about how demanding playing for John Tortorella for 82 games is, that they're kind of out of gas, maybe. I don't think that explains all of it.
Interesting, Bill. But no, that is interesting because we were talking earlier about last season, right? And how this was a team that was in a playoff position until very late in the season.
Through 81 games, they were in a playoff spot.
They're in a playoff spot, and the very Washington Capitals that we played tonight, and this is mostly the same team. Like, there are some changes. There's, a decent amount of changes, but for the most part, the bones of this team are the same. And now this is the best team in the NHL. And obviously that wasn't going to happen to the Flyers, especially given the stage of the franchise where they're at. But nonetheless, like, if you look back just a year ago, this is a team that we're talking about making the playoffs. And now it's like not even a thought in their head.
And I suppose that kind of bodes well that you can turn it over this quickly. Like, the Caps were a trending down team, and you go, well, that's the price you pay for going for it for all those years. And they're in this spot, and last year it's like, yeah, they made the playoffs, but they're out in 4, and everyone saw that coming. They have a few acquisitions, and they showed the graphic on the broadcast, like, points by acquisitions through the roof for this team. Like, the couple of guys they did bring in have been awesome for them. I guess, okay, a few tweaks here and there, and suddenly you can kind of change the dynamic of your team. Also, they have Alex Ovechkin. And
yeah, they sure do.
For the first half of last year, he had 8 goals. This year, he's been on a great scoring pace the whole time. Yeah. But even when he was out, they were winning plenty of games.
But this is a team last year, they were in that position, and they lost all steam at the end of the season. They were gassed by the end of that season. And some of that was losing Sean Walker. Sean Walker was a really good defenseman.
The whole defense was hurt. They traded him away.
The defense being hurt. Risto disappeared into the ether like he has this year, too. Risto's got to go back to his planet. But whatever it is, they just were completely out of gas at the end of last year. And part of that, yeah, it's the goaltending. Part of that, yeah, it's the defensive issues. But also maybe they're just damn tired from being ridden by Tortorella the entire year.
And I suppose that...
like, there's no... that team should not have not made the playoffs because they had a cakewalk. They had a really easy schedule to end that season.
You look at the way last year went, and it's like, all right, that team wasn't supposed to make the playoffs, though. But after 81 games, you go, like whatever it was, 70 when they go on their slide, like, you didn't have to do a ton to make it. Like, expectations change. Now, this year, it was never really going to happen. They didn't have that fast start. They didn't get the goaltending that the Flyers got, through January last year. It's different. But now you're just seeing this crash, and it makes sense. A team that sold at the deadline like they did, and not just sold, lost from January 30th through the deadline, like 3 key pieces of the locker room in Frost, in Farabee, and of course Lawton. They get Kuzmenko, they get rid of him. It makes sense, but there's still enough here that they should do more than never score.
They got 2 NHL lines. They should be scoring some goals.
Those guys, and it's maybe unfair to be like, well, there's 2 NHL lines. Those lines got to do something. We did always say, like, oh, what's Giroux's problem in the playoffs? Like, well, when you have one guy, the really good teams, it's easy for them to defend. The Flyers have had a tough schedule this month. It's like their best games have come against the best team.
Yeah,
like,
no, they've had a rough run.
Winnipeg, Tampa tonight, like, they've played well against some really good teams. But they just cannot score. And these players not scoring concerns me about the step forward. Now, hey, maybe all the breakout years happen when it counts and we're saving it for them. And maybe we save a few bucks on contract extensions for young guys between now and then because they haven't lived up to their potential yet, whatever. But I need Tyson Forster to have more than 2 points in 11 games. I need Cam York to have more than 3 points in 23 games. Like, this isn't good enough.
The one that really gets me is Tippett. And I think he's easily the guy I'm the most frustrated with on the team because he's the guy who should be the most in his prime of that group besides Konecny. Like,
yes.
Konecny, look, he was off in an awesome start to start the year. He was phenomenal. We think he might have some injuries along. He probably gotten dinged up. He plays really friggin' hard.
He does.
But Tippett, you never know who you're getting on a given night with Owen Tippett.
I
love him to death, but like you never know which version of Tippett you're getting, and he is a speedy guy. But like you just know his potential, and he's not hitting it.
And we always get an A-plus version, though, of Philly's #1 hockey beat writer, Charlie O'Connor, joining us live from the nation's capital, looking good, looking like you had some fun in Boston on St. Patty's Day. I bet you really partied it up when you were stuck at the airport. Yeah, Charles Henry O'Connor was...
And O'Connor
just happened to be in Boston for St. Patty's. Yeah, I believe that one. Chuck, before we... it's funny because if it was me, no one would believe it, but like... Charlie, I fully believe he was actually having travel issues. Plus, like, there were like tornado warnings in Florida. Charlie, before we get to anything,
That's an intro right there.
Before we get to anything else, your thoughts on the game and any standout quotes from the locker room and coach.
Yeah, this is a game where
Perfect.
I feel like game changed so dramatically just because they scored a goddamn goal. Like that's it really. Because if they would have gotten shut out again, like it wouldn't have mattered that they only allowed the Capitals to get 16 shots on goal. It wouldn't have mattered that they played hard. It wouldn't have mattered that the effort was there. And all of those things still would have been true. But had they not scored a goal, it would have been a total embarrassment because they got shut out 3 straight times. Instead, Poehling makes a really good play, gets that goal. They dominate the third period. And instead, you can kind of look at this game as an acceptable loss. I mean, the Capitals are by record one of the best teams in the league. That's a fact. They're a very good team. They've been a very good team all year. It's a road game. They're on a road trip, and they ultimately lose a tight game where they had the Capitals on their heels in the third period. It's kind of weird because I was preparing to write an article at the start of the third period that was just going to eviscerate them. And now the entire tone of my article changes because I look at this game and I say, you know, they gave it their best shot. They're just not as good as the team they played. And that, to me, is the story. It's not, oh, my God, this is embarrassing. They can't score. It's, well, can you even really give them too much criticism? Because they're trying. They really are trying.
We were just talking, you know, they're clearly playing hard. They're defending. The shot totals recently, like outside of Carolina, and Carolina puts up 30 on everybody. Like they put up 30 on the 95 Devils.
They had some great chances
tonight,
they did.
Like,
they really did.
They're playing hard, and I don't think they've quit. Like that's obvious, but this inability to score. Like Ryan Poehling has 2 of the last 3 goals. He has points on each of the Flyers' last 3 goals, which... You know, one of them was a week ago today, you know? Like, it's the guys who aren't coming through if they were just getting steamrolled because this team only has 2 NHL lines, all right, understandable. But it's the guys who are supposed to be part of this thing going forward that aren't coming through for them. They're all in scoring slumps. Does that concern you about this team and, like, the core moving forward?
John Tortorella was asked that after the game, a very similar question, and his answer was a very blunt no.
Okay.
Does it concern me that guys like Owen Tippett and Tyson Forrester aren't scoring more, given the fact that they're not old, but they're not, 19 years old. They're not 20 years old. They're in their early to mid-20s. You'd like to see both of those guys in particular taking bigger steps. Yeah, it's concerning. I don't think it's terrifying. I don't think that it means that they're never going to develop into those guys. But look, the fact of the matter is that the Flyers traded away a third of their top 9. So they lost 3 of their top scorers. Now, none of those guys are superstars by any means, but they were contributing players who were providing depth, who were providing talent, who were providing at least some offense. That's gone. Now they need the guys that are left to be stepping up. And the problem is that basically none of them are, at least from a scoring standpoint. Like Travis Konecny is the big one because he's the best player on the team. He's the top scorer, and the guy just can't buy a goal right now. It was one thing that was very interesting, I thought, today. One of the reasons why it took so long for me to get back up here is because we were waiting on Travis Konecny. We wanted to talk to Konecny. And before we are about to talk to him, you could see kind of like Torts pulls him into a room to have a conversation with him. And then we talk to Konecny, he says all the right things, just got to keep plugging away. We're doing all the right things, everything you would expect him to say. And then we talk to Torts and ask him a couple questions. And I asked Torts, I'm like, look, you got a guy in Travis Konecny who has the talent to score. He's fighting it right now. He can't score. As a coach, do you say anything to him? Because I saw him talking to him, so I wanted to see how much he'd be willing to reveal. And Torts was very open. He's like, yeah, I basically just told Travis that on that 2-on-0, he said, I want you to turn that into a 1-on-0. I want you to basically wave off Michkov, take the puck to the center of the ice, and try to beat the goalie on your own without even worrying about Matvei. That's what I want to see from you. That's what you do when you're playing well. And apparently that's just straight up what Torts said to Konecny after the game, which I think is the right message. It's like, look, I believe in you. I believe in your talent. You're a really good player. But for whatever reason, you're in your own head right now, and you're doubting whether you're that good of a player. You're trying to pass up 2-on-0s, and by the time you get the puck back, you're putting it into the side of the net. He wants to get that confident guy back. And to me, Konecny's the big thing that turns this, because if Konecny starts scoring, like, they're not going to be an offensive juggernaut, but when you're a team that doesn't have depth and your best player can't buy a goal, like, this is what happens. You just don't score goals.
Have you ever seen anything like this? 2 goals since January 9th. It's still funny. Like, since then, he still leads the team in points, 20 goals in 29 games, or 20 points in 29 games, despite only 2 goals. But, like, a guy with this level of scoring talent, couple of seasons at 30 goals, 24 was his average for a long time. Now, all of a sudden, it's getting to like a comical level. The passing on the 2-on-1 early in the game, putting that puck off the side of the net, getting robbed when he tried to cut back in on the 2-on-1. Have you ever seen anything like this with a player this good, Charlie?
I have to think that he's coming close to a breakthrough, because, say what you will about tonight's game, and it was frustrating, but it was frustrating because he was creating so much, because he was doing everything except that final step. And I have to think that he's getting closer. Like, we're coming up on a breakthrough, because how much longer can this really last? That said, it's still very frustrating to watch a guy who can score goals, you've watched be a really good player most of the season, just when he gets to the final part of the play, just can't seem to figure out how to finish it. It's extremely frustrating. Sure, it's frustrating to Tortorella. Sure, it's extremely frustrating to Travis Konecny. He knows he's better than this.
Charlie, we'll probably talk about this more tomorrow, but since I have you tweeted earlier, and everyone kind of had it at the same time when the Flyers released it, the Risto update. His status changes from day to day to week to week. This is one of the things we were worried about in terms of, like, going into the offseason. All right, they have another opportunity to move him, but if he's not healthy, and lo and behold, it has happened. Do you think this is more about managing a valuable asset and being like, well, why put him out there if he's only 80%? Or do you think this is more severe than they thought initially?
Well, I think it's probably more severe, because I don't think they were lying when they originally said that it was, he's banged up, he's day-to-day. It's clearly more severe than they initially thought. That said, there is the element of, we're not in a playoff race. So, like, maybe he would try to play through something like this if they were battling for a playoff spot and very much in the mix. Whereas at this point, what's the incentive for them to push the guy? It's like, all right, well, let's just make sure you're 100%. The thing that does concern me, and you alluded to it a couple minutes ago, is that I have to think that they have designs on trading him at some point. Now, whether it's the offseason, whether it's next deadline, whether it's the following offseason, I don't know. But he doesn't fit the timeline age-wise. He just doesn't. So I have to think at some point they're going to move him. And he has this reputation of being injury-prone. He does. That's real. Like, from what I heard after the deadline, there were 2 reasons why it seemed like teams weren't as interested as the Flyers thought. One was analytics teams don't want to touch him, which, like, fair. I don't know if that's ever going to change. But the other is that even the teams that like him are like, I don't know if we can trust this guy to stay healthy. He's missed a ton of time over the last couple of years. And if he misses the rest of this season, that's just going to play into that perception and going to make it tougher and tougher for them to ultimately move him, ultimately do.
Now, Charlie, talking about guys that have trouble staying healthy, Sam Erson's had his struggles of late, and it's a difficult night for him. 813 save percentage. Tough matchup though with the Capitals. What did you think of Sam Erson's night?
Yeah, I didn't look at any of those goals as being notably bad. I mean, the first goal is a goal scored by the best goal scorer of all time, or soon to be officially in the next couple weeks, probably. Then there's a tip goal from a distant shot, but the shot changes direction right in front of them. Yeah, like, I'm not going to kill a goalie for that. It'd be nice to get a save, but those are real tough. So I don't think this is a terrible game by Erson. That said, it's not like he stole it. I mean, you'd like your goalie to make some big stops, especially when your team isn't scoring many goals. And Ersson at this point is not proving himself to be able to do that. I'm sure he would say that he can make better plays on all three of those goals. I'm sure he would, because he's hard on himself. He's fair in terms of how he evaluates himself. I don't think this is a game the Flyers lost because of Sam Ersson, but he also didn't do much to give the team the boost they probably need right now, given the lack of offense.
Chuck, it's Pelletier's usage. Jakob Pelletier's usage has been kind of a topic the last few games. Tonight was his 13th game as a Flyer. He's played under 10 minutes in 9 of these 13 games. He plays 9:21 tonight. What do you make of this lack of usage? And honestly, with everyone else struggling so much, what does he have to do to earn the time? It's not as if there's people pushing him down this lineup.
Yeah, I'm not going to give away the store on this one because I'm planning to write an article on this specifically. Probably when I'm at the airport tomorrow, flying to Dallas, because I already have the piece mapped out. But I pushed Tortorella on this on Wednesday in Tampa in that final practice, and I didn't really love Torts' answers because it very much seems like Torts has what he thinks is a read on what Pelletier is and what he isn't. And you kind of get the sense that Torts is like, well, what's the point? I know this kid isn't going to fit. And my response to that is, how do you know? You've barely seen it. So that's my view. Maybe Torts is right, but I don't think there's enough evidence one way or the other to find out. And there won't be until you play him a little bit more and in a slightly different role than being on the fourth line with Rodrigo Abels and Nick Deslauriers. Now, in fairness, he did get some time, I believe, with Owen Tippett in the third period, so they did juggle the lines a bit. Maybe that holds for Saturday, and that would be nice. But at this point, has Pelletier shown a ton? No, I wouldn't say he's shown a ton, but I think the last 3-4 games, you've seen more energy out of him, and he's still toiling away on the fourth line. They need to figure out who this kid is, and that's not going to happen getting 8 minutes a night on the fourth line with, an enforcer and a guy who hasn't yet proven that he's an NHL caliber player.
Now, Charlie, you mentioned the Ovechkin goal earlier. Huge goal. History keeps marching on with Alex Ovechkin here. How are the vibes in the building? The Caps are playing great. Ovechkin's chasing Gretzky's record. It seemed like a pretty cool building to be in tonight.
Oh, it's pretty cool. Yeah, you've got the mascot of the Capitals changing the counter up in the upper level. It's a cool atmosphere. And we talked to Sean Couturier before the game, and he's obviously echoing the mantra of yeah, it's really cool, but don't want it to happen against us, kind of thing, which is what everyone's going to say. But it's just a cool thing for hockey, and I think Ovechkin's reached the point of his career where if there was anybody in the Flyers fan base or even in just the NHL fan base that hated him at one point, I feel like he's reached that level where you just got to respect him, that hatred is gone, and now it's just been replaced by respect. So I think everyone is rooting for him to do it. It sure looks like he's going to do it in the relatively near future. And it was fun tonight to be in the building for, a little piece of history, to be sure.
All right, before we get to stars, real quick, Charlie, we talked pregame about Capitals. Looks like they're going to win the President's Trophy. Last year, we were like, is this team actually any good? And in the playoffs, they're not. This year, they're running away with the East. Do you think they're actually for real? Do you think this is a team that could be in a conference final?
Yeah, they could make the conference final. The Metro path is not looking that tough.
No.
I think a lot of people are just kind of assuming Carolina is going to do it because it's well, who do they have to play? Well, they're probably going to have to play the Capitals in round 2, and the Caps could certainly beat the Hurricanes. Hurricanes are a very good team. I don't think they're a juggernaut. Do I think the Capitals are better than the Panthers? No, I don't think they are. That said, the Panthers have played a lot of hockey these last few years. So you never know. If they have to face the Panthers in round 3, maybe the Panthers are so injured and worn down that the Capitals can roll them. They're clearly a good team. Would I consider them to be one of my personal Cup favorites? Not in the top 2 or 3, but they've done it for long enough. They have the goaltending. They have scoring depth. They have a bunch of guys who have exceeded expectations. They have Alex Ovechkin, who's a cheat code on the power play still. Yeah, you got to take him seriously.
5th in Stanley Cup odds on Bet365. Poor Jets are 8th. It's what do they have to do to get a little bit of respect? But Yeah, I guess the your pedigree comes into play here. All right, without further ado, let's see if you remember how to do this, Charlie. It's Charlie O'Connor's 3 stars of the game presented by Rite Aid. That's right, it's the Rite Aid 3 stars. Charlie, who was tonight's 3rd star?
Yeah, 3rd star, I'm going to go with Ryan Poehling. I mean, Poehling, he gets the goal that ends the scoreless streak. I thought he played a good game overall. You mentioned that he's been one of the few players that has been chipping in on offense about the degree that you would expect him to over the last week or so. Now, that more says something about the guys that you expect to produce a lot more than Ryan Poehling than it does about Ryan Poehling. But hey, Poehling's doing what he's supposed to do. Really nice play on that goal. 3rd star of the game, Ryan Poehling.
2 goals and 3 points in the last week. That's what the Flyers have.
Juggernaut.
He's their whole offense right now. Who is star number 2?
Star number 2 is Alex Ovechkin. And look, part of this is just the spectacle of it all. The fact that it's real cool when he scores goals, given how close he is to tying and breaking the record. But also, the Flyers are a team that can't score. And for a while, it looked like that was going to hold up as the game winner. It's like, well, you get 1 goal, maybe the Flyers are going to lose already. So for a while, it just looked like that might be enough. And when you're playing against a team that is having the kind of scoring issues the Flyers have been having over the last week and a half, 2 weeks, getting that first goal is enormous, because then you're chasing the game. Now, if you're playing well, being down 1-0 is no big deal. It's like, we'll get it back, no big deal. But when you haven't scored in 2 games and then the other team gets the first goal, then you're thinking, can we score 2? Are we capable of that? And Ovechkin's the guy who gets the Caps on the board, puts the Flyers on their back skate the rest of the game, and he's just 1 goal closer to that record. So 2nd star of the game, Alex Ovechkin.
And finally, tonight's Rite Aid 1st star.
Yeah, Charlie Lindgren was fantastic in the 3rd period. The Flyers, to their credit, they threw everything at him in the 3rd, especially over those final few minutes, and he made some big saves. I mean, 26 saves on 28 shots, really strong game. The Capitals' goaltending has been so big for them this year, and Lindgren was fantastic tonight. This is a game that, if they get league average goaltending, probably goes in overtime. But they got far better than league average goaltending, and because of that, they won in regulation. The Flyers lost. So Charlie Lindgren, 1st star.
I really thought you may have considered the Flyers video team for this one, but Charlie Lindgren did play one hell of a game, so that makes sense. All right, those are Charlie O'Connor's 3 stars of the game presented by Rite Aid. Charlie, I believe you're going to be joining us remote for the show tomorrow. All right, so we will talk tomorrow. Until then, safe travels, my friend.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, that is Charlie O'Connor coming to us live from D.C. Good to see that Charlie is still around. I was hoping he didn't quit. Yeah,
he just quit.
Quiet quitting, didn't tell me, but no, he's back.
It feels like the Flyers' offense is quiet quit on us.
It certainly has. And before we go any further, I just got to tell you about Lucy Nicotine. That's right. I just got re-upped on Lucy Nicotine. I'm still on the wintergreen 4 milligram pouches. That's what I've been going with. I get 6 delivered every few weeks, and I love it. It's just a really great way to level up your nicotine routine without some of the other baggage that comes with other forms of nicotine. And listen, Lucy, it's 100% pure nicotine and always tobacco-free, so you don't get anything extra. Comes in pouches and breakers. Breakers are nicotine pouches with an extra surprise. Each pouch holds a capsule that can be broken open to release extra flavor and hydration. So set yourself up with a subscription and have Lucy delivered straight to your door. Let's level up your nicotine routine with Lucy. Go to lucy.co/PHLY and use promo code PHLY to get 20% off your first order. Lucy has a 30-day refund policy if you change your mind. Again, that's lucy.co/PHLY and use code PHLY to get 20% off. And here comes that fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. And while we're here, got to tell you about our presenting sponsor each and every show. It's our friends at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. So we got our Ovechkin anytime goal tonight. That was really good. Even money there. Thanks to that Flyers video team. We do not cover that 1.5 puck line. That was a bit of a kick.
So close.
It was really this game could have been 4-1 and it ends at 3-2. That's just a bad beat, honestly, on the 1.5. And Ovi was open for that empty netter. Now it was 4-on-1 at one point. I really feel as if Philly was like, we're not letting him get another. They were fighting so hard to keep that puck away from Ovechkin with the net empty. And listen, that's what you got to deal with. But I've been placing all of my bets this season with Bet365, whether it's futures, game props, you name it. I use Bet365. They're my sportsbook of choice. I think they should be yours too. And we have breaking news from Bet365. New customers now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Win or lose. All you have to do is sign up, use the code PHLY365, deposit $10, and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets, whether your initial bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in PA. If you or someone who has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. I do want to get to this Pelletier thing a little bit. Again, 13th game as a Flyer, has had under 10 minutes now 9 times in these 13 games. I don't think he's got a high ceiling, and maybe we just have so many of these guys who are like, yeah, man, he's going to be a good third liner, that John Tortorella just feels as if he can't be bothered. But when I run through all these dudes who just ain't scoring a damn thing, like, does Ula Lixell need to play the... what did he play? The 17 minutes he played tonight? Like, I don't know. Let's see somebody else.
Torts does these things in, like, the name of winning games when it really doesn't matter. And at this point, I'm much more invested. I'm much more interested in just seeing what certain guys can do. So let's try some different pairings. Let's try some different combinations out. Let's get weird. Let's get funky. Why not? And I have no idea what this guy is. So seeing him, 8 minutes a night or whatever we're seeing him, it's not helpful at all. We need to see more of him. Do I want him on the top line? Not really. But at the same time, like, who cares?
No, and it's more just like, let's see something else, especially when a team is in this sort of prolonged scoring slump. Yes, they scored 2 tonight. Nice play by Poehling to get the first one. Coots digs away for that second one. We're not talking about it's not as if, oh man, well, like Forster and Brank and like all these guys need this time. Like, they're not getting it done either. So why not see if maybe Pelletier can just give you a spark? I think in the limited time he's played, he's done some good things. Now, he every now and then just has, like, I think it was in the first period tonight, like a D-zone turnover. He had a good chance to break it out and just... like, okay, now possession continues, and maybe that little stuff is what keeps John Tortorella from having the sort of confidence to give him more than 10 minutes in a game. But if this is all with the idea of winning, like, oh, I'm going to try to win every game. I mean, like, Travis Konecny hasn't scored in how long? He plays 21 minutes tonight. 22-18 TK played.
I almost feel like you could use a break, Bill.
Like, maybe he needs a night off. Maybe he needs a night if you're not going to sit him or something or shut him down, which I think should maybe be a little bit of an option with TK if he is battling something.
Shut him down.
Like, give him a night with 15 minutes. And let's try to just, even if it is on that fourth line. Now, I don't know what he can do with Abels and Delorier. Like, I don't know what anyone could do with those line mates. But just give him a couple more minutes. Let's see what he could do with 12 or 13. I'm not asking for the world here. I'm asking for maybe third line usage from a guy who was the only, like, tangible return we got in that trade with Calgary.
I want to see something. I just want to see anything. Who is this guy? I mean, we were told, like, he's feisty. He'd be a fun player in Philadelphia. And he's playing like 5 minutes a night. Like, I'm not seeing anything because there's nothing to see.
No, it's just frustrating. It's not the end of the world. Like, Jakob Pelletier at the end of the day is probably a decent bottom 6 forward.
We got nothing else to talk about, Bill. We're going to talk about Jakob Pelletier as much as we have to.
Why not find out for sure? Like, if Torts was able to make up his mind on this guy, it's not like we play Calgary all the time and he's got, I've been watching this guy. Like, you've seen him for 10 minutes 13 times.
This is the stuff that drives me nuts with Torts. Like, he's made up his mind on this guy. We know nothing about him as fans. So, like, he's saying, like, yeah, I don't need to do this. Like, well, why? Explain yourself. I have no idea. And that's one of the things Tortorella loves, to not explain himself on stuff. You know, the Ristolainen, no. Like, he just loves to be blunt and vague, but sometimes he's overly like explaining things, like Morgan Frost, like, well, I'd like to really drive his trade value down as much as possible right now because I'm John Tortorella and I'm insane.
All right. I do want to talk about something pretty cool that is going on at the end of May. It is the inaugural Gaudreau Family 5K Run, Walk, and Family Day. It's going to be at Washington Lake Park in Washington Township, New Jersey. It's about like 5 minutes from my house, so I'm really looking forward to this. And the Gaudreau family, in celebrating the lives of Johnny and Matthew, who we all know lost their lives last summer, they are really focusing in on a lot of charities that were near and dear to their sons' hearts, starting with what will be a fundraiser, this 5K, for the Archbishop Damiano Schools, ADS. It's located in Westville, New Jersey. It provides services to over 135 students with multiple disabilities by offering individualized and inclusive special education programs and therapies for students ages 3 to 21. What they want to do, they want to raise money to create an adaptive playground at the ADS school. So that seems pretty damn cool. Check it out. The website is right there on the graphic. We're going to have more information on this. I'm going to put together a little team to do this 5K. Kelly has already signed on to do it. I know she likes to do the running, Steve. You and I don't think we're big runners.
No,
maybe I have you wrong, but maybe
you don't got me wrong.
Yeah,
at a certain point, I was getting out there on the streets of Roxborough and getting it done. That ain't the case now, folks.
But the Gaudreau Family 5K Run, Walk, and Family Day, it's an opportunity for South Jersey and the Delaware Valley residents to support the Gaudreau family and walk beside them as they navigate this very trying journey. The inspiring morning events will feature a competitive 5K run for serious runners and a fun run walk for more casual participants. So we're gonna be there. We are absolutely going to participate in this. And there are virtual options if you can't make it. If you want to do it on your own, you can participate. All sorts of stuff. Check out that website, and we will have more information as the event comes closer. I want to talk a little bit about Michkov before we get to the Super Chat, Steve, because we have to talk about Matvei. This is
the only thing we're talking about.
I believe this is his first time up against Ovechkin when he did not put up a point. 3 goals and 5 points in his first 3 games against the Caps. There were 2 multi-point games in those first 3. I thought he did a few things tonight. I do have, and I know this is blasphemy to some, a small criticism of Matvei Michkov. I love the goal-scoring mentality. I really do. I like that he tries to apply pressure from all angles at all times. And I do think catching a goalie off guard with the bad angle shot is something that you can utilize now and then because it will catch a goalie off guard. It is so much a part of his repertoire at this point. It is catching nobody off guard. And like a few shows ago, I said he just needs to stop doing it in overtime because there's no puck support. It's 3-on-3. If it doesn't go in, it's just a turnover. I'm just kind of good on it right now. I just would rather him try to make other plays. And then like if he centers to Couturier a couple of times tonight, like instead of trying that, maybe suddenly it does open it up. If they think you're going to pass and cheat over a little off the post, maybe now suddenly you're able to bank one off the helmet and in because there's a little daylight there. Right now, though, it's a little too much for me.
This is an area where I'm a little curious about like a coaching change or something like that because
2 shots on goal, that was one of them tonight.
I feel like the current regime really keys in on the two-way play with Matvei and not so much with his offensive creativity. And I really just want to see what his upper limits of offensive creativity are. Frankly, I don't really care if he's a good two-way player. And I know that might be blasphemous to some, but like, I don't really care because this is a guy, I just care about his goal scoring ability, his playmaking ability. And if he's hitting a wall there, if he's doing something redundant at this point, I want somebody who can help him grow and find other creative ways. And, you know, I'm sure part of this is also the fact that the team's playing like butt right now and nobody else is really doing anything offensively. So he's like, at least I'm getting it on net. You know, Travis Konecny, he's like passing in the middle when he's got a clear shot on goal. and he could take a shot at the pads, and somebody could try to get a rebound, which I know is a foreign concept to this team. But like, I think a little bit of his, maybe he's not learning enough in that area. Some of it could be some frustration, but regardless, I do agree it's not working right now. He does need to change some stuff up. I'd love to see him change it up. I just need more fun Michkov stuff back in my life.
Absolutely. All right. Let's get to tonight's Tankathon spin. That's right. Flyers still holding down that 5th spot. The Sabres are right there in that 4 hole, and they are currently losing with a minute and a half left in the second, 2-1 to Utah. So we could really use 2 points in any fashion or at least one. For Buffalo. But right now, Flyers holding down that 5th spot. Of course, we'll do this tomorrow, and there'll be more finalized. There'll be because there's a bunch of games going on. But for tonight, Brenna, spin that wheel. All right, let's see. Oh, there we go. All right, 5. They remain at 5, which is top 4 is really where we want to be to ensure, like, especially if it goes Schaefer and then the 3 centers, like. You don't want to be left out in the cold. Top 5, still fine.
5's good, though, because people can get, they can overthink some stuff. See, Michkov, Matvei.
They can, and there's, there is a winger in there. I think is it Martone who's the winger? There is like a winger in there. I can't. Again,
you're asking the wrong guy.
We're gonna get to more draft stuff.
My draft research is starting soon. It's not nearly enough right now.
We're gonna get to draft stuff soon enough, but it does feel like the top 4 is where they need to be to fill either. If they're gonna like get one and go with Schaefer, you know what? They need defensemen too. I just did a whole thing about how the defense never scores.
Top 4 would be great.
Obviously, centers.
Sometimes the Montreal Canadiens decide that they need some Reinbacher instead of some Michkov.
Teams go off board. It does happen. All right. Now let's hit those super chats. Only a couple tonight, so let's get through these. Starting off with who is Mike Mao? And I'll ask again, are we calling TK a 70-point player by the end of the season? I have to believe he gets 5 more points. That's what he needs, right?
If I would think he maybe had fallen off a cliff or disappeared and maybe into the same place, into the same void that Rasmus Ristolainen disappeared into if he doesn't end up with that 70 points. I believe.
12 games left. I realize he is in this huge hole right now. He was, how many chances did he have tonight?
But he got chances, and that was one of the positive things that Charlie pointed out tonight. Like, he got chances, and you have to believe that talent is going to win out here. If he's getting the chances, he's going to Here's the thing. Chicago's coming up, folks. And they stink real bad.
They are real bad. What'd you think of him playing with Michkov again tonight? It's been a while since we've seen them together on regular shifts.
They almost had a banger of a goal.
They
came real close.
The opportunities are there. They are getting scoring chances. He only needs 5 points to crack 70. I realize at one point he was on a 40-goal, 90-point pace. It's not going to be that, and that is a bummer. But I got to believe he gets 5 more freaking points.
He's got that. Well, I firmly believe this is going to happen. It's happening.
All right. Before we go any further, just got to say, we're going to overtime. That's right. Head to allphly.com to keep watching. And what is overtime tonight? It is just our final super chat of the evening from Kev A. And he says, was at the game in Tampa, my one game a year that I splurged for, did not notice Tippett all game. Will he be the next regret contract like Farabee? It's a valid question. I think he's shown us enough that this is more of a, like, when you hit 27, 28, 2 years in a row, that's the baseline. I think he's having a bad year. I've said all along, well, hey, man, maybe the breakout finally comes when he gets his 35-goal season or more, when it actually matters. Because, listen, it would be cool, but in service of what, this year?
Right.
So maybe that's it. But it is a very disappointing season. 19 goals on the year. He just hasn't looked like himself for long stretches other than like once or twice this year.
I'm very disappointed in Tippett, but at the same time, I think he's going to be one of those guys who's a real beneficiary of them getting some center depth in the team. Like Luchenko, hopefully they go out and get a guy or two this offseason. Once they have some centers to play with these guys, I think they could be really cooking. Like, you're not going to see TK, I think, go through the same number of slumps if he has proper center talent closer to his abilities. And Michkov is the guy I'm excited to see with the proper center. But
sure.
Tippett can really do some stuff. And I think if somebody's clearing some space and helping him out and can finish for some of the chances he generates, you really could have a good player. But that said, that's not to say I'm not worried about Tippett. Like,
absolutely,
he's frustrating as hell.
It's absolutely a worry. My thing, like in terms of comparison to Farabee was, oh man, this guy does so many things good that he's a good player. Like, that's it. And then, the scoring dried up and it's like, well, what the hell is he if he's not even a 20-goal guy?
Farabee, I mean, I thought that contract was a good contract.
I still think it was worth the risk.
I think it was worth the risk. I mean, I think a lot of that was his injuries, especially the neck. Like, I think he just was never the same after that.
It does appear to be that way, especially in terms of like full season production. But I never thought of Farabee, like it was just like, yeah, he's kind of a jack of all trades. He does like a bunch of really things at the good, not great level. So it's like, yeah, he's a top 6 forward, and then turned out maybe not. Hasn't been great in Calgary either. Like Tippett, I just see as so toolsy that, hey, maybe there's a lot of guys who never put it all together. It does happen all the time, but he's so fast. He can shoot. Like, his passing has come a little bit along this season. Like, I just can't, he's big. Like, there's no reason he doesn't put it together. I know that the IQ is a question, but there's still no reason he can't score 30 freaking goals.
So if you can get him with a guy with the IQ, though, to really complement those skills,
get him in the ozone more often,
I think that could be a huge benefit. The speed's my biggest thing with Tippett that he brings that Farabee didn't have. He's maybe one of the fastest Flyers I've ever seen in my life.
Luchenko, Tippett, Konecny, the chaos line, baby.
Oh, I want it.
I want it so freaking bad. All right, and that is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers Postgame, presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We'll be back tomorrow at 4 p.m., so make sure you tune in for that. And then we have pre and post on Saturday and Sunday. That is, of course, why we were off earlier this week, so make sure you join us this weekend as well. That's it for us. Make sure you're following us right here on YouTube. Hit that reminder bell so you never miss a live show. Follow the Twitter at PHLY_Flyers, and follow the podcast wherever you get those. Just search PHLY Flyers. Check out Flyperbole. If you think Steve's doing a great job for us, which I do, maybe you want to check out the rest of his work. Doing great stuff over at BSH. All right, I'm Bill Matz. That's Steve Jaco. Till tomorrow, roll on Tank.
We all silly like the mayor.